Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Initiation Portal. In this powerful space, we recognize that during today's catalyzing times, humanity is once again gaining access to wisdom that has been hidden away, suppressed, and shamed for millennia. Our presenters and performers in this event have gathered to provide you with an immersion into the ancient knowledge that has been lost for so long. As you attend, you are invited to open up your senses to the art, to the music, to the powerful practices and wisdom, and open up your awareness to the unseen and numinous realms. Allow these workshops and performances to shift your consciousness and guide you into entirely new dimensions of what you perceive possible to create, embody, and transform. And I am your host for this event, Jocelyn Mercado. And today I am honored to be speaking with Ilarion Merculieff. Welcome, Ilarion.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being a part of this event.
It's great to be here and to meet kind of your audience.
Yes, wonderful. And to have them meet you as well. And okay, well, let me introduce you to everybody here. So Ilarion Merculieff was raised in a traditional Unungan Aleut way and received his Unungan name. And could you pronounce your name for us? I want to make sure I don't say it incorrectly.
Kuyach. Kuyach, and X, the X at the end is a soft guttural sound.
Okay, thank you. The name is given to one person in each lifetime amongst his people. His name means an arm extending out from the body, a carrier of ancient knowledge into modern times, a messenger, and today he is living the legacy of his name. Ilarion has over 5 decades of experience serving his people, the Unungan of the Pribilof Islands, and other indigenous peoples around the world in a number of capacities. His reach has been broad and varied. Ilarion has shared elder wisdom locally, nationally, and internationally. Close to his heart are issues related to cultural and community wellness, traditional ways of living, elder wisdom, climate change, and the environment. Ilarion has been and continues to be a strong voice and activist calling for the meaningful application of traditional knowledge and wisdom obtained from elders in Alaska and throughout the world in dealing with modern-day challenges. His present work is with a new organization he has founded called the Wisdom Weavers of the World, to take the messages of elders from throughout the world to get global attention. And there is a link to Wisdom Weavers of the World right below this interview, and we will share more about that a little bit later on in the interview as well. So, Ilarion, to begin here today, we're clearly living in times of initiation. I feel like everyone I talk to is going through some sort of major life change, transformation, upheaval, challenges of some sort. So could you share with us in your traditional view or in your personal view, what is the meaning of this initiation and how can we navigate this today?
Okay, first of all, Angwan, Kamala Kamna, Kamala Kasudha. I said, hello, my other self, which is what we greet each other with every day. And I said, the morning tastes good, which is another way of expressing good morning. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. You know, my people they're very unusual in terms of their history because we can trace our ancestry back to Egypt, over to Outer Mongolia, to Siberia, to Kamchatka, and across by traditional craft, and not the Bering Land Bridge, as most anthropologists and archaeologists say. And we've been out in the Bering Sea for over 10,000 years, and we're still there. And we have had a very spiritually grounded way of life, and where, for example, you know, my people don't have any food storage technologies except for wind, air drying, but no other. We're the only Alaska Native people that don't have food storage technologies. And we developed, despite that, in a place that's very hard to eke out a living, the Aleutian Chain and the Pribilof Islands, we have developed the most densely populated linear mile of shoreline for our time in North America. And when I asked my elder on St. Paul, you know, what is this? And he says, well, you see that bird over there? You know, it doesn't worry about where it's going to get their food the next day. And this is the way that our people lived, where they were present in the moment and in the heart. And the rest would be taken care of. And it has, in fact, because we've developed a very vibrant culture. So anyway, in answer to your question, you know, Mother Earth is talking to us if we have the ears to listen. And she sent this pandemic that has gone around the world, and it's out of love, where she is showing what we need to do during these times. Now, I work with the wisdom weavers of the world, as you mentioned, and they are chomping at the bit to get their messages out to the world about this time, which basically the message is get out of the mind and go to the heart. The heart used to traditionally tell the mind what to do. Now the mind is telling the heart what to do. And we've got this mess all over the world, this chaos. And people are wondering what to do. And this is, so the message is slow down, like we have done in the very beginning of the pandemic, which is to slow down every human activity and to take the time to examine yourself and the world that you have built in your belief system, and question them very seriously, because the elders are saying, you know, Mother Earth has survived for billions of years. She's going to survive for billions more. It's a question about whether or not we human beings are going to survive, and it's going to be decided by people in this lifetime, and which is a pretty heavy responsibility. And so in what we are doing, you know, Mother Earth, she showed what she can do when we slow down. The ozone layer over the Arctic healed. You could see the Himalayas from India for the first time in 30 years. Animals were going where people used to be everywhere around the world. She is showing that she can heal very quickly if we adjust our behavior. And so that adjustment is going to require real change inside, which is to go to the heart.
Yes, thank you. And it's really incredible what happened, as you said, with how quickly she was able to heal when we just stopped for a little while, a few weeks, a month, we stopped. And
Yep.
and now we're getting back to the frantic pace, which is part of the illness, I guess, that we are kind of continuing. And I wonder what you said about getting into the heart. How can we do this? How can we really shift our consciousness, shift our activities so that we're coming from the heart instead of from the mind?
Well, there are any number of things that people can do, and we have to do it fairly quickly if we're going to survive and thrive as human beings on Mother Earth. First of all, we've got all this built up clutter that, you know, is the proverbial onion where we're peeling off layers. that have caused us to become greatly imbalanced. And so we, when we have guilt, shame, remorse, anger, rage, jealousy, all these things of the past, or fear, which is projection of something that's going to happen in the future that hasn't happened. Every place except the proverbial now, and being in the heart. And so we're doing exactly the opposite of what we need to do. And the elders say that. The Yupik elders in Southwest Alaska call this the reverse society, or the inside out society, because we reversed all the laws for living. And one of the most salient ones is that the heart used to tell the mind what to do, and then the mind tells the heart what to do. And we can't tell the difference from what is coming from our heart or from our minds. And so they say that we need to get to process these things that have traumatized us from childhood, from very beginning of childhood, where we have to recognize what the injuries are that has caused the problems for us today. And these are mental, physical, and spiritual injuries. And we as children, we don't have any defenses. And when we criticize a child or scold a child, we are causing harm. And we don't recognize that. And we have to. And so the things that we deal with, all these injuries that we've accumulated in our lifetimes, including genetic memory, which is the traumas from past generations, are with us here today. And everyone in the world, I think, is functioning from this place of trauma. And they don't know, or we don't know, what a healthy individual is, what we call the real human being, that we have forgotten what that is, and we've normalized the abnormal. And so we think that everything that we're doing is normal, when in fact, when you really examine it, it is abnormal. And so we got to get rid of these issues in our heads that cause these kinds of situations to occur in our lives, and by healing them. And to heal them, it's very hard to do it alone. You need somebody, at least one person, that you can trust to hold the space for you to relive, actually, these traumas of the past, and to process them. And that person, I mean, one of the greatest healings I had a long time ago was I was part of a peer group counseling session. And the leader of the group decided to work with me, and she worked on a trauma that I experienced as a child, where I was 6 years old and I had double pneumonia. And the island was run by the US government at that time. And I was put in the US government clinic where there was nobody there, except for the nurse and the doctor, that's it. And I walked in, and the doctor examined me and quickly found out that I had pneumonia. And he said, this boy may die. He said that right in front of me. And so he said, he instructed the nurse to put me in cold water. And I became unconscious when I was immersed in the cold water. And this went on for about 6 weeks. And when I got out, I didn't recognize that I was traumatized. But I noticed a change in my behavior, which was I used to eat with the family at lunchtime, and then instead of that, I would go to my room and eat by myself, because I thought that my parents never cared about me because they didn't visit me when I was sick. And I didn't know that the government agent had set up this rule that nobody except the patient will be in that clinic, and didn't allow our parents or anybody to visit us. And so this was quite a trauma that I carried through much of my life, where I didn't trust myself, my body. I didn't trust anybody else. I didn't trust my parents. I didn't trust anyone. And that reflected in the life that I led in between. And this person who was a peer group counselor worked with me to actually relive the trauma of the 6-year-old, because I was still doing what the pneumonia did to me, which was my nose would start running, and I would start sneezing, and I would gather phlegm in my body, and I would get bronchitis, and I would have anxiety and things like that. And so she asked me to go through again this thing where I actually relived the past. And I could feel the fear coming and everything else. And she said she would be there to remind me that this is just a memory. It doesn't exist. You are only going through it to heal. And she helped me stay grounded as I went through this process. And at first I cried where I couldn't even get a sound out. I was gasping for breath. And then eventually it came in, and I fully cried throughout my entire body. And then that was the experience. And then after that, I didn't have the phlegm anymore. I didn't have bronchitis. I didn't have anxiety. It was all gone. This is just one example of what we have to do, which we're asking everyone to do, but it takes great courage to do that, to relive a trauma. And so, but you have to do that. So you process it, and then you let it go, and then you're able to drop into your heart. That's one way. Another way would be to watch a 2-year-old child. And when you watch the 2-year-old child, you might see them get angry at a buddy of theirs, and really just engage their whole being in being angry. And then after that, 2 minutes later, they're playing again. You know, it's quite amazing. We are energy beings, and so we need to recognize that we need to release this energy, no matter what it is, good or not so good, in the moment that we experience it. The 2-year-old child does that. It doesn't have these layers that we have as adults, and they're natural. And so they release this energy, and when they're happy, you know, they're just engaged in their entire body. And so as adults, we learn to segregate things and separate them in our minds. So we're happy, yeah, okay, we're happy, we're sad. And it's going to be in these categories when it's all connected. That's one thing that indigenous people understand, is that everything is connected, everything, including our body. And so if we work with that and use it, use the example of the 2-year-old child to release energy. Now, in this society, it is not kosher to emote. At least you might emote anger, you might emote happiness, but that's it. And if a man cried in a business meeting, that would be a big no-no. It's just the way it is. And so we look at the news reporters, for example. They're frozen. Their facial expressions are very little. They don't show any emotion. That's just modeling the thing that kids learn to be that way. And of course, we do it ourselves when we don't express our emotions. When we have them, we don't. We even have frozen faces, and we don't laugh, we don't smile, we don't cry, we don't do any of that stuff. And the face is, of course, connected to the body, and it's a reflection of where people are at. That we have frozen our emotions. And my elder here in Alaska, who was a spiritual advisor to the Indigenous Council of the 13 Grandmothers, said, when you hold emotions, they're like stagnant pools. They become stagnant pools inside your body. And that results in all the things that we see happening today, including the way we treat children. And we're not even aware of it.
Yes. Wow. So this idea of healing the trauma, going back in the past and healing the trauma, it seems like this is a very key and important thing that we need to be doing right now. Thank you for sharing your story about that. And do you feel that the earth is helping us with that right now? Because there's so much fear coming up now, right? There's so much kind of having to reckon with, that which is driving us, whether it's this, our ego or fear or feeling like we need to speak out about things, that then we're being brought to a place where we need to deal with this past trauma so we can move forward through that.
Yeah, the Hopi Maori say that just like what you're saying, take nothing personally during this time on Mother Earth, because everybody is going through something. And so we're not unique. We're all feeling what we're feeling. And it is necessary to let it go. And the thing is, judgment, which is one of the things that we learn growing up, you judge something or you judge somebody, is stopping us, actually, where we judge ourselves. And we say, okay, I shouldn't have done that. I did that before. I'm stupid, stupid, stupid. Or I'm, being angry again. And I'm going to say, I shouldn't be angry, but I'm angry again. All these kinds of things that come up, the way that I would deal with it would be what the Buddhists show, which is, watch these thoughts and emotions as they come by. Look at them like passing clouds. Don't judge it. Just accept that these are passing by. So if you fall back on an old pattern, what you would do differently is just watch them and note that they are passing by. And just doing that is probably half of the solution to helping yourself heal. And the elders say that the most unselfish thing that you can do during this time is to heal yourself. And this is really true given the plight of the world right now. I mean, we've got wars and refugees and the violation of women and political corruption and all these kinds of things that are going on. And we are focused on these issues. Good people, you know, are really wanting to do something. So they work at that to try to stop it. And the elders are saying, you know, we're energy beings. If we pour our mental, physical, and spiritual energies into stopping something, the energy goes into that which you want to stop. Mm. And so it gets worse. Now, environmental groups, for example, I mean, there are tens of thousands more environmental groups in the world today than there were 30 years ago. But yet, Mother Earth's life support system for human beings is right at the edge. And we don't ask why. And that why is that we're working at trying to stop this. That instead we need to focus on that which we want to see in this world without reaction to anything or not in reaction to anything. Yeah, there are things here that you need to stop, but don't pour your mental, physical, and spiritual energies into that. Pour it instead into the world that you want to see.
Yes, thank you. Very powerful. It seems too that what our children are going through right now, for one thing, I mean, the kids with the education systems are being taken apart or rearranged in so many ways, and our kids are going to be growing up in a completely different world, you know, than it was even a year or two ago. What do you think is most important for us to do for our children, grandchildren, and or communicate to them at this time to help them navigate this?
Yeah, this is very important. And in the world, the imbalanced patriarchy, I call it, requires us to educate our children, to tell them what to learn, how to learn, and define everything, and that they need to learn that. When I was a child, I was raised literally by the whole village. And I would be affirmed every day by every adult in the village that would encounter me. Every day from age 5 to age 13. Ang lakaya, good boy. And they would always say something very positive, never say anything negative. And then the adult's job was to create the space for a child to learn. And don't do anything or say anything or behave in any way that would harm them or traumatize them. And that the child's responsibility is to watch, listen, and learn. And by this kind of a system, I can expand out to the maximum of my capability without the interference of an adult. Now, most adults believe that children don't know better, but they know what they need if we get out of the way. They know what they need. In fact, there was a study done, I think it was University of London, maybe. It was somewhere in Europe where they took a 2-year-old child and put her in a room full of all kinds of foods and closed the door and didn't go back for 2 days. That would be considered, you know, child abuse now. But anyway, what they watched was that she took exactly what she needed when she needed it. And so she was healthy, vibrant, and happy when she got out. And so we need to learn that the 2-year-old, the child is a spirit being in human form. And that as a spirit being, we came from a formless place into form. And we know that this is very dramatic change in our being. And that because we're human beings, we're going to have happiness, yes, suffering, yes, we're going to feel pain, yes. And when a person dies, we celebrate because they're going back to their formless form. But in the meantime, what do we do with the child? We are doing in the patriarchal imbalance, telling them what to learn, how to learn, define everything. And in doing that, we have helped them give away their personal authority that they inherently have. But then it's weeded out of them so that now as adults, there's always some authority that we have to listen to. When you're driven by your heart never lies, and it never thinks negative. It is always positive, and it always guides you exactly what you need to do. And this, it has compassion, it has love, it has patience, it has all these things if we are able to just listen to the heart. But now most people are cut off from that. That's when the imbalance began, is when we left our hearts. And that's when we created time. The elders say the beginning of time began when we got into guilt, shame, remorse, anger, rage, blah, 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 or fear, every place except the present moment. When you're present in the moment and in your heart, the heart never worries. It just is, and it trusts through a level of embodiment, not in the mind, but trust with every cell of your body that everything is okay and will be taken care of. And we've lost that.
Yes, that's so important. I know that's been very, very key for me on my spiritual, path in recent years, is this developing this level of trust that whatever happens is part of a much bigger plan than I can see, right? And that I know it's okay. Even if I don't think it's good for me right now in this moment, I can trust and know that there's some other piece that I can't see yet that will unfold.
Exactly.
And that seems like definitely something important to teach our children as well.
Yes, and that's what real faith is. It's not faith created by the mind. It's faith that is embodied and it comes from your heart. And that when you learn to do that, you will see that it exists. And that if you just let go of, this is the thing, we plan everything. We plan what we're going to eat and when we're going to have recreation, and we plan how our money is going to go, what kind of job I'm going to have. All of these are, well, it's difficult to say this, but it is things that take you out of the moment. Yeah. What we need to do is to trust at the embodied level that if you are present in the moment and in the heart, everything else will be taken care of. So you ask yourself, what am I supposed to do during this time of all these tremendous things that are happening? And the only place that you can find the answer is from your heart. And the heart would tell the mind what to do, and the mind's job is to implement what your heart is telling you. And only you can know what this gift is. And no one is born here today without a grand purpose, I guess you would say. That if you find that gift within your heart and you live it, you have the courage to do it, then it's going to take care of everything around you. And you know, when I first did this some 45 years ago, I dropped everything. The Hopi and Maori say, let go of the sides of the riverbank, move toward the center, find those who have done the same and celebrate. And of course, letting go of the sides of the riverbank means letting go of all your human attachments. Go to the center means going to your proverbial heart center and the center of the river of life, because it knows where it's going and we don't. Find those who have done the same means find those who have had the courage to do what you did, which is to jump. And when you do that, it requires great courage and great faith.
Yes. Well, and this is all the more reason for us to do that healing work, right? So we can have that courage,
Exactly.
that strength within ourselves to
Exactly.
let go of the riverbank. I love that.
Yep. Yep.
Cool.
This is why it's the most unselfish thing that you can do in the world today.
Yes. Yes, we are all so needed right now to really step into that
Exactly.
in that
We
plan.
are all needed. We're all the gurus today. There's no single guru anymore.
Yes.
We have the answers, and we just have to have the courage to go there.
Yes. Now, do you believe that we are, or do you see in your work that we're receiving increased abilities for an intuitive capacity or psychic capacity or increased healing capabilities? This is something that I feel is moving in our world, that we're getting this kind of help. Do you agree with that?
Yep. You know, before the pandemic hit, I was traveling all over the world. And what I found was that people are realizing that the things they used to do don't work anymore. And so they're at the point in their lives of saying, okay, I'm beginning to recognize that these things don't work. What do I do? And so this gives an opportunity for messengers like me, and there are many, many messengers around the world that are trying to get these words of the wisdom of the elders out to the world, so that they know that there is an answer and you have it.
Yeah. Yes. Well, on that note, would you like to share a bit about the wisdom weavers of the world?
Yeah. The wisdom weavers, you know, it was in 2017 that I had this idea of, you know, it was after a meeting before I was a senior advisor to an environmental foundation. And they were talking about the great things that they did. And yeah, they're good. But yet they didn't recognize that despite what they've done, the world is, as we know it, is coming apart environmentally. And so I thought, well, we need to get the elders together. So I called elders from around the world to go to Kauai, which is called the birthplace of the souls, where every soul that comes into Mother Earth comes in through this portal. And to discuss two things. One, what is the state of the world as they see it now? And what must we be doing now? And of course, one of the results was the creation of the wisdom weavers of the world, where we're using social media to get messages of the elders to the world. And our launch film for our organization was interpreted in 14 different languages and launched by Reuters news service around the world. And so that was, you know, we had signals after signal after signal this is the right way to go. We didn't have any resistance anywhere to the elders wanting to get this message to the world. And so right now, we're revamping and reanalyzing and then going to launch some major initiatives probably by the end of next month of the Wisdom Weavers. But the Wisdom Weavers is a creation of GSIL, which is Global Center for Indigenous Leadership and Lifeways, which I'm the head of. And we funnel the money that we receive to the Wisdom Weavers. And so if you're interested in GSIL, it's www.gsil.org. And we're creating a new site that's going to be called www.gsil.world.
Okay, I'll make sure those links are included below the interview as well. And how can people get involved? We'll put the link for Wisdom Weavers below, but people can become members, is that right?
Yep, and as soon as you subscribe to Wisdom Weavers, we are asking people to do many, many different things for themselves and for others around the world. And some people want to do webinars. We would assist them with that. Some people want to be supportive of what we're doing and want to do like editing, or they're tech jockeys, and so they'll do tech things. And then we're linking up with organizations of like-minded heart around the world. This is one thing, again, that we as a world lack, and that is that that like-minded heart. I say like-minded heart. Organizations, they do good work, but it's going only to their constituency. And we need to have a unified voice around the world. And so we need to link up all these organizations that are of like-minded heart to work together so that at least a portion of what they do is a message that is similar to other messages from similar organizations around the world. And, you know, we're looking for elders, wherever they may be, and to help. And one of the things we want to do is link up the elders and have them talk with each other around the world. And because their information they know is needed in the world right now, and so they need help to figure out how to do that. And so we will provide some suggestions. So there's lots of things that we need to do.
Yes. Well, yes, thank you for creating this platform where people can come together in this way and contribute. I definitely encourage everybody watching to go and check out that website, see what draws you, see what you might be interested in getting involved in.
Yeah, and you know, I'm doing like 2 webinars a week now, at invitation of others like yourself, that are going worldwide. And it just is affirmation that the world is now genuinely seeking indigenous wisdom in what they're doing. And, you know, I've been doing 2 webinars a week for the last 3 months. That's a lot.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
The word out. Yes, it does. It seems that people are ready in really large numbers. People are ready to look for this deeper wisdom, the ancient wisdom that.
In fact, I'm doing a webinar this afternoon with Alaska Native youth from all over the state. and it's part of a gathering of Native people from around the state, where up until the pandemic hit, it had the largest gathering of Native people in Alaska. About 4,000 to 5,000 people would get together to discuss current issues, but now we're doing it by electronically.
Yes, that's really wonderful. Well, before we close, could you share with us one, just whatever comes to mind, one piece of wisdom for our listeners from your Indigenous background, from your Indigenous upbringing, that is important for us today?
Yep. Nothing is created outside until it's created inside first. The reason that we trash the environment outside, we're trashing the environment inside. We criticize others on the outside because we're critical of ourselves. We judge others because we're judging ourselves first. Nothing is created outside until it's created inside first. So as a mirror of what people can assess where they're at, is to get to the point where you can see this fact, that nothing is created outside until it's created inside first, and that you cannot achieve anything that you are not doing yourself, and you are not yourself. So the ultimate thing that we need to do, I believe, is that we must become love. It's fine to do love and to act love, but we must ultimately become love. That everything that we do is love.
Thank you. Thank you for this message. We must become love. It's very powerful. And yes, and we must begin with ourselves, from within.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's good talking with you as usual.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much again for being a part of this. Truly appreciated. And thanks to everyone who is watching and tuning in. And definitely go over to Wisdom Weavers of the World. You'll see that link right below. And yes, thank you, Ilarion. Hope you have
Thank you, and
day.
thank you to your audience.
Thank you so much.
Okay. We'll see you.